You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Really excited today for a really special guest. We're changing the format a little bit today with this guest, where usually we have roofing contractor owners of roofing contracting companies, or salespeople, or sales coaches, or consultants to the roofing and construction industry. But today we have a very successful roofing salesman, and by the end of this interview, you'll understand why we had him on. He's doing some really amazing stuff. So, but first off, if you get a chance here, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, send us a comment. I have my direct line in the description of every one of these episodes. Shoot me a text message if you like the content, if you want something, if you're looking to hear about more specifically about something other, or if you know of someone who you would like to see interviewed, shoot me a text message. So today we're here with Andrew Itnyre of Masters Roofing down in Memphis, and really excited to have you on here, Andrew. Thanks for coming on today.
What's up? I appreciate you having me on, Jim. It's an honor, and anytime that I get to do a podcast, it's a blessing to me. So I just want to say thank you for having me on. Yeah,
man. Thanks a lot. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself and kind of your story of how you got into the roofing business.
Yeah. So I've been around roofing my whole entire life. My father grew up in the industry. He was a salesman as I grew up. A lot of my time was spent when I was younger was riding around with him on Saturdays and just getting up on roofs, helping him find hail hits and different things like that. And then he moved down to Florida. We were kind of separated, but he would fly back to every single one of my sporting events, which was really cool. It shows you the dedication he has. But he would fly back, see us for a weekend, go to our sporting events, and then fly back down to sell roofs. And this was back in when the hurricanes hit down in Florida around 2005, 2006, around that area. But yeah, it was great growing up around the industry. He got me into it very young. I kind of deterred myself from going into it initially because he was so tough on me and my brother. So my first job out of college was being a corrections officer, which was a lot of fun. I wrestled in high school and college, so I did that for about a year and a half and was on the rapid response team. But there's a lot of things that go into that job, a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, a lot of scary situations. So my father didn't like that, and he did everything that he could to kind of persuade me to come down and start in productions. He didn't really want me to be a sales guy because he just didn't think I had that personality. Now it's kind of funny that we come full circle and I'm one of the best sales guys out of the company. So it's an honor. All the cool thing about our company is you have so many great sales guys, and they've been with us for mostly all of them have been with us since the company started. And some of them even sold roofs with my father when I was younger. So you have people walking around the office that literally been selling roofs since I was in diapers, or literally see me grow up, from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, and now I'm a grown. It's a real, and I'm blessed to be a part of that because at the end of the day, that shaped me into who I am now. And I kind of put my own spin on it, of course, with social media and those different aspects. But I think everyone brings something to the table, and that at the end of the day, I think that's what leads to the majority of our success.
That's awesome, man. And that's kind of where we, where we were introduced is through the social media aspect of it, and the success that you're having on social media, specifically Instagram, where, I know that this is, man, I have a hard time with a lot of roofing contractors have a hard time, believing that Instagram is somewhere where you can, build a sales pipeline, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
And it's completely understandable, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of hard work and dedication and consistently posting, which is something that that's the most inconsistencies that I see from in a day-to-day, just kind of scoping out other people's profiles, is they don't really give themselves a chance to be successful on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're putting too much thought into the posting aspect of everything. I try to at least post 1 to 3 times a day, and that's now. Back when I first started, it was 3 to 6 posts every single day. And I was still figuring out how things worked back then. So there was a lot of things that I was doing wrong that ultimately was kind of hindering my growth success. But at the end of the day, being able to trial and error and figuring things out, that's ultimately what gave me my, pushed me to the point where I'm at now, where I got a decent sized following, and I got a lot of people responding and communicating with me on a day-to-day basis. But it's not only helped me out personally in sales, but also I got a little group of contractors that we text back and forth and keep each other motivated. And I feel like I have a responsibility to them now to go out and sign up the big roofs and sign up the big contracts, because at the end of the day, it's leading by example. And I freaking love that. Forget the money aspect of it. Being able to create that community and where you have people say, man, I look up to you, that is the best feeling. And even going locally here to home shows, or just walking around doing shooting, different things like that, having people come up to you and say, hey man, I've seen your stuff and I like what you do. That's a incredible feeling. And that's what I do it for, because money comes and goes, but to have relationships and build that with people. And I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, so I didn't really have a strong community or like people that I talk to each and every day. So Instagram kind of gave me that platform to put myself out there and to see people respond to it. That was the most rewarding aspect of it to me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's amazing how much community is involved in this. If you put yourself out there and if you get involved. Let's go back to So when did you start as a roofing salesman? How many years ago was that?
2016, I believe.
Okay.
2016 or 2017, one of the two.
When did you start implementing your social media marketing efforts?
Really around 2017
is
when I started, and that was just kind of testing the water. And I owe a lot of my success on social media and kind of dipping my feet into the water to Michael Deere at Watkins Construction. He was the first one that really put out high production quality videos. And I admired that, and I heard the success because he back then, my brother didn't work for him. He just was a good friend. And they would sit there and talk about the different things that he was able to accomplish on Facebook. So that kind of pushed me into saying, hey, well, I want to be like that. I think it shows off his personality and who he is as a person. So let me give it my shot. So that's when I really started, was in 2017.
Okay. And then when you originally started, what was your idea? What was the concept in your head? Like what were you going to put this together? How are you going to structure it?
Well, and I really want to show people that roofers are more than just, you get those stereotypes about roofing, about how roofers can't be trusted. And those are all things that we have earned as an industry. So I wanted to give roofing a better platform to sit there and say, hey, listen, yes, there are shady contractors out there, but there's also good people out there like me and like Watkins Construction and people that are doing the right thing over and over again. So that's the premise of everything. Is I always told my dad, if I can show people my work and show people what we do as a whole, there wouldn't be any versus, they would choose us every time if we can show them the details, the custom metalwork, the professionalism that we carry out on a day-to-day basis. We can show that, then I think it would give us a much better opportunity in the retail scenarios and different things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's what motivated me originally, was to sit there and make contracting great again, because there's so many negative stereotypes. And back when I started, I was 21 years old, and I was already dealing with, hey, listen, you're young compared to these other guys who are 30 and 40 years old out here selling, so that's one thing that my dad kind of like hammered on. Oh, you're going to be discriminated against because you're younger. And then I would go
Yeah.
out there and I would whip these guys that are older just because I had the dedication and the care to go out there and show people my passion for the industry.
So really your concept was to just showcase that Masters Roofing
Mm-hmm.
was a reputable company and did great work, right? In the most simplistic way, right? And that's what I think a lot of people miss. And we spoke about this too, is people overcomplicate it, right? They really overcomplicate the kind of the what should we post? How many times should we post? What time of day should we post? Well, should we post at 3 o'clock? Should we post at 2 a.m.? What, all of these different things. When if you simplify all of these things, right? It's the questions that consumers ask you most often, showing your work, very simple things that you can do that generate that content very organically.
Yes.
So you started off posting what, 3 to 6 times a day, you said?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, it was like, hey, I'm just testing the waters, trying to figure out what will actually work. I was literally using an app on my phone. And the main thing is my father, he didn't want to spend any money on sponsored ads. Still to this day, he doesn't back me at all financially with anything that I'm doing on social media.
Yeah.
But that was a blessing, because at the end of the day, if he would have gave me money to spend on sponsored ads, I wouldn't have taken the time to figure out what is working the best. Who knows, I could have wasted a lot of money, done a lot of things, and never learned from my mistakes. But starting off organically and having to build off of nothing, that's where I found, I did the trial and error thing, just seeing what works and what didn't work. Sometimes it took me 3 to 6 months to find out if something worked or didn't work, and sometimes I figured it out immediately. But at the end of the day, what I love about Instagram is you can post something, and there's been times where I thought a photo was going to do great or a video was going to do great, and then it absolutely tanked and it did nothing. And then there's times where I post a freaking picture of me from the ground off of my phone of a house that we just did, and it gets in front of 2,000 people. So at the end of the day, posting consistently is the most important part about Instagram. And I think that's one thing that's overlooked is it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have a pair of off-white shoes like I do to post in it. At the end of the day, you can just take 30 seconds out of your day, take a picture, use the proper hashtags, and put something that's valuable in the information. And I think people will respond to it. Obviously, as the production goes up and you produce better content that's more engaging, those results are only going to amplify. But when you start out, no matter where you're at, whether it's at the, if you're just getting started out, you're only going to get in front of 300 to 500 people. And that's the disappointing part for people. Hey, listen, I made a post and it only got in front of 100 people. It's still better than knocking 100 doors. But when you do that consistently over time, that's when you're going to build on certain hashtags, and you're going to get more of a reach that will naturally benefit your business in the long run. There was a lot of times where people sat there and made fun of me and said, why are you wasting your time, this and that? I am so happy I ignored those people, because I genuinely enjoyed posting content that people reacted to. That's what ultimately got me where I am now. So that's the thing. You can't get discouraged at first, because if you're not posting consistently, you're only going to get in front of 200 to 300 people or 500 people at the most, and don't set your expectations super high, because at the end of the day, unless if you're running sponsored ads, you're not going to get in front of those people consistently.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of times it's the expectations, right? Mm-hmm. It's people's expectations of things, and we live in such a now world that mm-hmm. We want to do something and see results. Mm-hmm. But this is a long-term strategy that builds upon itself. But it's that snowball rolling down a hill strategy, right? Like once it gets momentum, it's out of control. You cannot stop it, right? Like if you post 1 time a day, I think you were saying now you'll reach 2,000, 3,000 people just from one post.
And I would like to post more now. I wish I could post 3 to 6 times a day like I used to, but I'm so busy running leads. That's the thing I don't think people understand, is that even though I'm out here taking pictures and doing these different things, I still am a sales guy at the end of the day. I think a lot of people get caught up in the aspect of, hey, listen, I can't do this, or I'm too busy. just take, all you need once that you build it up is 1 or 2 posts and you're good to go. But I think so many people don't want to take the time to build and do it consistently.
Yeah, we live in that now society, man. Everyone just wants things now. And so if you want it now, call Home Advisor, give them a check, and they'll start sending you leads now, right? So
that's but I do it for, I do it for the aspect, I don't do it for the leads. So the fact of that I'm actually getting results now, and I'm able to not have to knock doors and do all the crazy marketing things that no one wants to do. I'm blessed to be able to do that now. So I owe it to Instagram. So that's why I'm still dedicated as much as I was to the beginning of it, because at the end of the day, it's helped me not have to do the tedious things that take time and dedication to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit. We had talked about on a previous conversation, which I thought was really cool, is you made a challenge to yourself. So when you started off doing roofing sales, you didn't just do social media. You had other marketing efforts that you did at the same time, and then you made a challenge to yourself to see if social media was really gonna make it for you, right? Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it was right towards the end of 2018. I was so busy, and I was still doing other forms of marketing besides social media, but I was so busy, it was like my head was spinning off. I had a great year in 2018. Starting off 2019, we had this survival contest. So, my dad was sitting there joking because I won the year before. He said, "Hey, you can't win back to back." And I said, "Well, I'm going to win back to back, and I'm going to do no other form of marketing besides social media." And that was a really,
it's a bold statement.
That was a ballsy statement.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure, because he took me up on that bet. And so, I said to myself, "Hey, listen, you got to go all in on this, because at the end of the day, that's the only way that you're going to be able to justify to your father that social media works." Other than that, he's going to say that, the door knocking or the other forms of marketing had an effect on the outcome of you ultimately doing well that year. So I decided to cut off everything from start to finish with any other forms besides social media. And I went all in on social, and I probably went the hardest I possibly could, because I didn't know what to expect. And in 2019, I did $1.3 million worth of sales for the whole year, which that was the first time. I think in 2018, I made it right up to the border of $1 million. But I didn't eclipse $1 million for that year. So to do 1.3, and then I ended up winning the contest at the last moment. I was down by $300,000 to another sales guy, and I ended up overcoming that deficit at the end of the literally in the last 3 days of the contest, and ended up beating him. So it was cool, because not only did I do it on my own terms and I ended up winning the contest, but also it kind of solidified that, hey, social media is the way to go. Because at the end of the day, I didn't do any other form of marketing at that time.
To do that in sales, and just from social media, that's definitely a proof of concept, right?
Yeah. And that's when I kind of started getting respect. And then when 2020 hit, it just went absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's been a crazy year so far. I'm at 1.4 million for the year. Haven't done one other form of marketing. And I'm just incredibly blessed to be able to sit there and say, hey, I'm able to do this. And it's really shocking, like some of the other sales guys. So a couple people created Facebook accounts, because these guys are older. They don't understand that there's a whole world out there on the internet that's sitting there absorbing information. So now some of these guys that are older are really hopping on Facebook. And even though that they're small little steps, ultimately, they're doing something different now. And it's opened their eyes that, hey, there's another world out there besides going door to door or whatever they're doing previously.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the mistakes that you made along the way.
Yeah.
What if some that really stand out to you that were, early on mistakes that people can easily avoid?
Yes. I think the number one thing that I see and that I spend a lot of time on was I got very good at designing my own post, as far as digitally designing. So I did a lot of advertisement at the beginning because I could sit there and pump out 10 pieces of content in a day at the beginning. And, but they were high in text content as well. So they weren't getting the results I wanted, but at the end of the day, no one wants to see your advertisement. People want to see what you're doing. And I think that's one thing that's very misconstrued is I think or your piece of advertisement, because at the end of the day, that's what engagement is. It's them clicking on your photo or them absorbing your information at some extent. So I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is people put out these advertisements every day. No one wants to spend time on your advertisement. People want what you're doing. They want to find out who you are as a person. They want to find out, that's why I do all the things I do, is because it gets people to click and engage with my content. And then I think I thought that was the number one thing. The number one thing I see people mess up on is not engaging with their followers. And if someone takes 10 minutes out of their day to absorb your content, sit there and leave something positive, at the end of the day, that's something that I think is oftenly overlooked, is the fact that someone comments on your post, take the time to comment back, spark up a conversation, because at the end of the day, that's how you get people to comment on your post again, is, hey, this guy actually acknowledged me. Whereas I see so many people, you sit there and you post something on their photo and it's just like it's ignored. And not saying that I won't comment on the photo again, but I know that there's some people out there be like, wow, he didn't really care. So that's the thing. I always take the time to comment, engage with my followers. If they DM me, I message them back. If they ask for my phone number, I give it to them. Anything that I can do to communicate and help people out, at the end of the day, it's going to circle around and come back to more people engaging with me and reminding them that I'm still there and still putting out content. So, and it's really developed into where I have contractors around the nation that I sit there and I talk to on a day-to-day basis. And most of the time they're other sales guys, but we sit there and we motivate each other and we do a lot of great things together because we're pushing each other and we're adding value to the group. So that's my whole thing, is I think there's so many people out there that don't want to give up their secrets or that they're, trying to, they're trying to be fancy and act like they don't need to talk to anyone. If you want good engagement, there's no other better way to engage yourself and comment back and support other people in what they're doing.
For sure. And that, it's a conversation, right? It's not just a post on social media. It is a conversation. And so, it'd be like walking up to somebody at a cocktail party and you say something to them and they just look at you and walk away, right? Like, be like, wow, that guy was rude, right? Like,
Yeah, so that's the thing. I love engaging with people because at the end of the day, back when I first started, there was no one engaging, and the fact that I had to sit there and say, wow, are people actually seeing this? And this is back before even reach and insights were even, you could even see them, but wondering if someone supported what you did or not. So that's one thing I actively do. I comment on a lot of people's posts. I support what they do. I like what they do. I message them. If that's another thing I do, if I see someone putting out great content and they stop, I message them and say, hey, why did you stop? You were doing great, So that's the thing. You need encouragement. And I think that's something that's often overlooked. I see it every single day. If someone comments on your stuff, all you have to do is take 30 seconds of your day to comment back, and at the end of the day, whether that's the only time they comment on your post, who cares? At the end of the day, they were nice enough to do it in the first place.
Yep, for sure. So those are great things. Any other mistakes that stand out or?
I definitely think time, the time you post makes a difference. I think noon's a great time to post, even if you're just doing once a day and starting out slow. I think posting every day at noon is a good way to start because there's a lot of people on. I definitely try to hit those certain milestones. You got noon, 3 o'clock, 6. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I posted one at I think it was 4:30 over the weekend, and it ended up getting in front of 2,400 people. So like at the end of the day, engagement is all that matters. So if someone's clicking on your photo and viewing it, it's going to get good results. If someone's not clicking on your photo and not viewing it, it's not going to get great results. It's that simple. It's not complicated. That's what I love about Instagram. So at the end of the day, posting consistently is a great way to start. That's the number one mistake I see. I think commenting, if someone comments on your post, I think commenting back is a great idea too. And at the end of the day, just following and getting in contact with certain people to let them know, hey, at the end of the day, I'm here to support you and you're here to support me. We're going to do this together. I think that's a great start.
Definitely. And it's kind of cool that you have like a community now, right? There, and and there's everyone's helping each other out and pushing each other to do better and things like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you got to think about it this way. Who else in this world cares about roofing more than roofers, right? Yeah. If you post a photo of your work, whether it's a custom metal or a roof, is a normal person to sit there and engage with that more than a roofer would? No. So having a good following from other contractors and roofers, I think that's a great way to start and make sure that people are engaging with your content. So why wouldn't you want to have more contractors following you?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think having a good backing from people that support what you do and that are in the same industry, that's another thing you should do. You should go to GAF's page or Owens Corning and follow other contractors that are similar to you, because at the end of the day, if they're viewing your content, that's only going to boost up your presence in the algorithm. So, I think having a good strategy, whether it's with your posting or who you're communicating on Instagram.
Let's talk about that. Some strategies, right? Let's start with posting. Mm-hmm. Let's start with posting. What do you think, someone just starting out, let's talk about some actionable steps that they could take, maybe some tips and tricks of, what to post, when to post, how to post, things like that.
So my first step would be post 3 times a day when you're starting out, because at the end of the day, the Instagram favors people that are using their app. So by posting, you are using their app and you're consistently buying into their program. Hey, listen, we want people to engage and socialize. So when you're posting 3 to 4 times a day, you can post 6, but I think 3 quality posts at the end of the day is going to get good results. Using the proper hashtags, that's another thing that I see done wrong all the time.
Yep.
So using the correct hashtags and making sure that you're using them on every post, that's another huge aspect of what I do.
Let's talk about hashtags a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what a hashtag essentially makes posts searchable, right? It's kind of the way that it is, and it's that, if you're old like me, it's the pound symbol, right? It's the hashtag symbol.
Yeah.
And then the words after it, right? And those words after it are what make your posts searchable. And people follow hashtags, right? So if you go to Instagram right now and type in hashtag roofing contractor, you'll probably see 100,000+ posts that have been hashtag roofing contractor, right? So there, you could use hashtag Memphis, right, as your city. You can use so many different hashtags. So let's break hashtags down a little bit more, and how you're selecting the hashtags that you're using in each of these in each of your posts.
So with hashtags, I like to think of them as neighborhoods, right? So what I'm trying to get at is, when you look at it as a neighborhood, if you get engagement on your post, so if you get a lot of people liking, commenting, just looking at your post for 15 seconds, that counts as reach. The more reach that you get ultimately boosts up your presence in a hashtag. So say if I have hashtag Memphis, Tennessee, if I do really well in that hashtag, it's going to bump me up to where I'm on one of the top posts. Now, with hashtags, you got to understand that millions of people are using these hashtags just like you. So you got to understand, if you're using hashtag Memphis, Tennessee, think how many people on a day-to-day basis uses that hashtag. So it's going to be a lot harder to be seen in that hashtag. There's a lot more competition than if something that's more specific. So if I live in Jackson, Tennessee, one of the first things I'm going to do is say, hey, listen, I'm going to use hashtag shop Jackson, because chances are there's less people there. I'm going to get higher up in that hashtag. So being more specific is great. As you grow and get bigger and get more engagement, that's when you can throw your weight around and say, hey, listen, I can use hashtag roofing company now because I'm getting more engagement. Therefore, I'm going to be on the top post if I post to that. So I think understanding where you're at in the market and how much engagement you're getting ultimately benefits you in the hashtag realm. But looking at it as a neighborhood, you can find specific hashtags that are going to work out really well for you at the end of the day. It's always nice to be in the big fancy neighborhoods like hashtag roofing company.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that someone in Memphis is going to find you on that hashtag. There's thousands of posts. There's thousands of contractors from all across the
world.
The world in that hashtag. So no one, if they're shopping for a roof in Jackson, Tennessee, or wherever they're at in the United States, they're not going to hashtag roofing company. Probably just search Memphis roofing, or whatever the case is, So that's the thing. It doesn't have to be a big hashtag. It's much better to find the neighborhoods that are smaller, that are still has a great community where they communicate with each other and where people go to view. So at the end of the day, there's benefits to being on bigger hashtags, especially when you get to the level where you're trying to get the attention of brands and different things like that. But also having the small niche hashtags are very, very vital to your success. At the end of the day, they're not getting the engagement to hold, to hold value on those hashtags for people. So at the end of the day, there's benefits to having big hashtags and small hashtags. You got to find what ones work for your local community.
Yeah. And how many hashtags do you usually include on a post? 30?
30. Yeah.
Okay.
Every single time.
Same 30 on every post?
Nope.
Okay.
It really depends on the photo or what I'm doing. There's a couple times where the thing about it is, if you use the same 30 on each and every post, what's going to end up happening is Instagram's going to sit there and recognize that.
Yeah.
That you're using the same ones on your post. So it's like you're spamming those hashtags. So therefore, at some point, they'll recognize it for a certain extent, but then they'll cut it out completely and they won't get any reach on the hashtag. So it's very important to use different ones, rotate them. Now I have a set list in my notes where I have about 6 different set of 30 hashtags. And if I'm in a rush or whatever the case is, I'll go to those notes. Those normally performed very well if I have them in that notepad. So I'll type in those, I'll copy and paste. And if I'm in a rush, I'll use those hashtags. But I try to sit down on every post and make 30 that are unique to each and every post.
Okay. And that another thing that I like to think about with hashtags is people will use hashtags like a feed, right? So they'll go to a specific hashtag and they'll scroll through. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so if you're using those hashtags, the certain ones here for these posts and for those posts, you're essentially leaving your posts up for other people to see.
Yeah.
When you have when you are doing something like hashtag roofing contractor, which I just looked has over 180,000 posts in it, your post will get buried very quickly.
Yes.
Right. There's a high level of activity in there. So your post is gonna get pushed down that feed very quickly. But
Yeah.
for something like hashtag Memphis Roofing, it has 1,064 posts, right?
Exactly.
So now the posts that you make will sit there, right? They'll sit there for people to see for a long period of time.
Mhm.
So that's a cool thing. And it's really important what Andrew's talking about is to find the hashtags for especially for your local area, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Because that's that's where that's your target market. That's where
Yep.
your homeowners are.
That's the thing. The hashtags I see people most using, they're not going to add any value to the company because they're just posting to these massive hashtags that
Yes.
have nothing to do with their individual markets, which is great. Like I said, you'll be if you work hard enough and you get the engagement, you can have one of the top posts on roofing company. But what's that going to do for you
For
if
your
you're a
business.
roofing
That's
company
right.
in
Yeah,
Louisiana or whatever the case is?
exactly.
So that's a number one mistake I probably see is just people using the wrong hashtags and not being specific and not engaging with. That's another thing I do. I do a lot of engagement on the hashtag too.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go on Owens Corning's hashtag and I'll sit there and communicate with other roofers because I use Owens Corning products and I'm big into that. So at the end of the day, if they use Owens Corning products and I use Owens Corning products, there's a common trait there.
That's
So
right.
they might follow me.
Yep.
So that's the thing. You got to be a practitioner of what you're doing too. So go to the hashtag, see where
Yep.
you're at on that hashtag, and see if you're having results. If you're not having results, change them. That's the number one thing. You see
Yeah.
these people doing the same thing over and over again. If you just try it, if it doesn't work, fix it, and try it something else. It's no
Yeah.
different than Edison. Trying something and it just not working over and over again. It doesn't mean stop trying. You just change it, and then you're going to get it right one time, and then it changes everything for you.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with so many things, right? If you're out canvassing, right? If you're testing out a script or a conversation with someone, right? And then you're making little tweaks, and then all of a sudden you find those words that work, and
Yep.
it explodes, right? You're just
I
signing. Yeah.
That's another thing. I don't use my flyers, but I have about 15 different flyers that I've made over the course of my career, and they all work. They all work in different markets, and they're
Yep.
work in different ways. But I never say that. That's another thing. I never put out the same flyer twice, because why would you do that? Because if they get home to the door and they see that same flyer, it's going in the trash almost immediately. So if you sit there and you flip it up and you flip same message, different presentation, you get a lot better result that way. It's not as annoying, and it shows, hey, listen, these guys are the real deal. They can change, they can change the perception, and they're not giving me the same thing every single time.
So let's talk about posting a little bit, the things that you post, because you post video, you post images. Starting out, what do you think, images or video, or a combination of both?
I to be honest with you, I really like video for sponsored ads. If you're going to run sponsored ads on Instagram or Facebook, whatever the case is, I really, really think posting pictures is the most practical way. Because I don't think, like me, I don't think my strong suit is being on video. I think my strong suit is being able to show my creative side and go out and take pictures in front of the murals and take these crazy, like that's my strong suit. So really go with whatever you're good at. So if you're good on video, post videos. If you're good at taking pictures and you have a great photographer, go do that. You have a significant amount of text in an image, it's going to kill, you're not going to be able to run sponsored ads and get a good result. And it's also going to kill it when you're posting to certain hashtags as well. So limit the amount of words that you have, but I definitely think it's going with whatever you're best at. If you're good at videos, post videos. If you're good at taking pictures, post pictures. Just do it consistently either way.
So what would you, for someone starting out again, or trying to, get consistent in their posting, what would you, as you're out and about on a day-to-day basis, what would you be taking pictures of or shooting videos of when you're out and about?
Perfect place to do it is roof being put on, right? It's kind of messy, so I don't think the drone photos are going to turn out great. But just getting your photographer out, like I take my photographer out, he just walks around the build while I'm checking on the homeowner and making sure they're good. He walks around the build, gets good action shots. I think a lot of people, whether they're local here in my market or other roofers that are around the nation, I think anyone can get value or relate to the hard work that those guys put in each and every day. And I think it's my responsibility as a contractor to showcase that too. So I think those are practical ways, just taking photos of what people are doing on the job, taking pictures with homeowners, video testimonials, pictures of the job once that they're complete, whether it's with a drone or from the street. There's so many different aspects that you can document on a day-to-day basis. And that's, even me, I feel like I'm lazy sometimes, because at the end of the day, I should be taking more photos than what I do. But there's so many different ways that you can capitalize on it and integrate it with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So, but the number one place I would go, first thing in the morning to your jobs, start documenting right then and there. You could literally make 30 to 40 pieces of content right off of one build, if you take the time to. So yeah, I definitely think that's a great place to start. And then you can integrate your personality. That's another thing I don't think people do enough, is show who they are as a person. That's one thing I really, really strive for, is to show people who I am at the end of the day. And I show a little bit more of the showmanship side on Instagram. And I told you this the other day when we talked. I had people find me on Instagram and they think I'm going to be this slick sales guy that comes in and sells them on everything. But really, when I get in there, I'm just me, and I'm myself. Showman side got me in the door. Me being me is what closed the deal. So if I have people mention that, hey, you're nothing what you look like on Instagram, but that's one of my big idols when I was growing up, was Ric Flair. And that's the thing. You can literally watch documentaries on him. And even though he was the most hated guy in the industry, the best heel in the business, people loved him on an individual basis. Great personality. People loved working with him. And that's the way I want to be as a contractor, is be not only have that flair and that edginess that gets people's attention, but also be able to, show them that at the end of the day, I'm professional. I know what I'm doing. I can talk circles around anyone when it comes to roofing. So, I think it's important to show every aspect of your personality.
Definitely. And that's the key component. Don't be afraid to be yourself. And just really showcase your work, showcase your personality, and that'll get you along. That'll take you a long way, just doing that. Now let's talk about some other more kind of, things that people don't think about. And that's more in that engagement side and the commenting on other people's posts. And you had said, like, you'll go to like hashtag Owens Corning and interact with people there. What are some things that people could do? Hey, do this once a day. How, what would that process look like if you could do it, starting from the beginning?
So, and this is something I would big on from the start, is, hey, listen, it takes less than 10 seconds to comment on a post, to absorb the information. And that's literally the way I do it. Oh, nice work. Okay, great. Let me leave this thumbs up. It takes me 10 seconds. So I did that from the get-go. No matter how many followers I had, I would follow them back, engage with their content. And over time, it's really built several great relationships. Just scrolling through your newsfeed and looking for posts that you like, commenting on them, liking them, and just putting your 2 cents into it. If you want to go in depth and talk about whatever they're doing, great. I think that's only going to add more value. But even just throwing a thumbs up, or, hey, great job, love what you're doing, beautiful work, whatever the case is, just showing your support. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be something that takes up a lot of time. It can just be as, hey, I'm here, to comment and support what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, when you do that, I think a lot of people would do the same thing for you as well.
Did you use any strategies to grow your audience, like going out and following people and kind of hoping that they would follow you back and things like that?
Yep. And that's the thing. It's a lot harder to grow your following now, because there's certain things in place with blocked if you're going in and you're following people. Back when Instagram first started, you didn't have that. You didn't have the whole block if you followed X amount of people. So yeah, I took advantage of it while I could. And that's the first place I went when I first started was, now granted, once I started producing great content, that's when I felt like, okay, if you're a roofer, you can kind of see what I'm doing and relate to that and follow me. So once I started producing good content that I think everyone could find value in, I went to GAF's, page and followed whoever they were following or whatever it was. And I got a lot of contractors that followed me. But I also think that's the reason for my engagement too. So you just don't want to go around following people that have absolutely nothing to do with you, because like nothing to do with your ultimate goal. Follow people in your local market, follow people on that are roofers, whatever the case is. If you're a painter, go to Sherwin-Williams Instagram page and follow whoever they're following. Now you got to be careful about how many people you follow, because you don't want to get shadow banned or whatever the case is. But that's a great way to start, and that's another thing. If you're struggling with growing your following, you can always go on Fiverr. There's tons of people that specialize in growing accounts, and you can give them a niche that you want them to interact and they can build your account. So at the end of the day, if you're having trouble building your account, go to Fiverr, pay someone to do it. Just like someone would pay you to do marketing videos.
Yeah, it's time or money, right? It's time or money, one way or another. You can hire. Fiverr is kind of a place where you can hire independent contractors. Some are good, some are not so good. You can you'll have to find that out on your own. But that is one thing. Now it would be hard to, the way that a lot of contractors think is, but I'm trying to get in front of a homeowner, right? Yeah. So I can't just I don't know every homeowner in my area, to follow them or have them follow me. But you've had great success becoming, producing content for the industry also, and having a lot of followers in the industry. But then how do the homeowners get to you?
I think it goes back to engagement at the end of the day. So the amount of engagement I'm getting on the contracting side, whether people are searching me or, whether they're just following me on a day-to-day basis and they see my advertisement or my content when they first wake up, whatever the case is. I think ultimately those are the people that push me in front of the right audience. But going back to hashtags, I've also got my local niche as far as my market goes. I have all the hashtags that I use pretty regularly to make sure that we're getting in front of the right people. So that's another thing. Going back to, you have micro hashtags and you have smaller hashtags that are really niche. And going back to the neighborhood theories, you have neighborhoods in Instagram, and those neighborhoods go to those certain hashtags and they interact. So I think understanding your niche and what you are to your community and hashtagging those and then getting the proper engagement ultimately puts you on the top post of those hashtags. So if someone's going to Memphis Roofing or whatever the case is and they look that up, they're seeing your content. And then it's up to you as a contractor to make sure that whatever you post to that hashtag is engaging enough for them to click on it and see who you are.
Yep. And potentially follow you, and then you start getting those impressions, right? You start getting in front of them. They start knowing who you are and building that, know you, like you, trust you. I know you do a lot of video testimonials and stuff like that. So you're big into, really creating I use the term a lot on here, but raving fans, right? You love to create raving fans and then showcase those raving fans on your social media.
Yes.
There's nothing more powerful than that, right? The homeowner that you work with, telling saying it, publicly, right? That, what a good job you guys have done.
And my main thing is I want to leave absolutely no doubt that I'm the best roofing company in Memphis. That's the way I look at it. Whether they're using me or another sales guy, I want people to be able to go to my Instagram and say, hey, this guy's a total package. He's been here for 11 years. He serviced the customers. There's video testimonials. His work looks great. He's working on these high-end projects. Obviously doing a great job. Or before you even have an Instagram or a Facebook account, let's have a great company first, and then we can market around that. And then at the end of the day, that's what's going to get us business. So I think making sure that you have a great company, so that way when you start promoting yourself on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever the case is, that doesn't come back to haunt you. You want people to come to you. You don't want them running away from you. So at the end of the day, having good quality content and being a good roofing company is great. Having decent content and not being a great roofing company, that's going to come down, that's going to hurt you more than do good.
Yeah. Or so even better, being really good at social media, attracting a lot of leads, attracting a lot of sales, and then not fulfilling your end of the bargain to the consumers. That'll backfire on you really, really fast. So
sorry, I lost you there.
That's all right. That's all right. We're back. But yeah, that'll backfire on you really fast if you're not doing quality work on the other side, right?
Yeah.
And that's what
it's a strange thing when you get on social media, because people recognize you that you never thought would recognize you before. So I'll never forget, I was having a casual conversation with a guy over hibachi dinner. This was like 3 months ago. And we're just talking about the roofing industry, this and that. Lo and behold, he's already signed up with another sales guy, but he knew me from my face on Instagram, so he wanted to talk about that. He was just very interested in the roofing process, but really he was scoping me out to see what I would say about it and this and that. So at the end of the day, that's the thing about becoming popular on social media. It's a full-time job. You got to act right all the time. You have to deal with each and every situation, because at the end of the day, all it takes is one unhappy person and they can go on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, and just flash you. And you never want that to happen.
Yeah. And I think from the salesman perspective too, man, I personally would sell so much better if I have a product that I believe in. Right. A product and a process that I believe in. If you really have a product and a process that you believe in, it's not a sales conversation anymore, right? You truly believe that you're going to do an amazing job for the homeowner, and you're going to exceed their expectations. And in that process alone, just knowing that inside of yourself, man, it's much easier to produce this content and put yourself out there, right? Because you know what's going to happen on the other side of that.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing. Like, I see this all the time, where you get a great salesman that goes to a great company and they start selling roofs and they're doing phenomenal. All of a sudden they think they got it figured out. I'm going to go start my own roofing company and it's going to be great. I'm going to make tons of money. And then 6 months later, they're back at their old company, because at the end of the day, it's not for everyone. It's extremely tough business. I could go out and run my own roofing company. I've been around my father long enough that I could do it myself. However, I know that there's certain things that I'm fantastic at, and there's certain things I'm not great at. But either way, I can rely on him to do his job and me to do my job. So I think the best way, if you're a sales guy, is find a great company to represent. Find the best in the market, because that's going to make your job so much easier and allow you to move so much quicker when you know that you're going out there and you're bringing something to the table that 90% of the market isn't offering. That's the thing. We did a study a while back where we wrote down all the different companies that were here when we first started in 2008. Out of those companies, and there was probably 30 to 40 of them. Yep. There were 3 total that were still around. So we got a big issue with people. And that's the thing. That's the scary part about it, because you got homeowners that trusted those guys to do their roof, and now they're out of business. Yeah. So they're going to call us to do a repair or whatever the case is. But yes, there's a lot of money to be made in the roofing industry, but doesn't mean that owning your own roofing company is what everyone needs to do. I understand I'm a great sales guy. I love selling roofs for my dad. If I decide to go out and do consulting like my brother does and different things like that, that's something I'll do down the road once that my father's taken care of. But at the end of the day, I'm a roofing salesman, and I don't want to own my own company, because I understand the value of that's how I do 1.5 million, by the end, by the end of the year or whatever the case is. It's by understanding, hey, listen, I do my job great. My father does his job. Everyone plays a part in the bigger scheme of things. Where people get caught is they get selfish and they want to go out and make the money themselves. And then ultimately it backfires and puts them behind when they have to go back and start all over again at another company, you know?
Definitely. And that's so let's talk a little bit about that, about, you know, social media from the ownership side, from the, you know, owning the roofing contracting company, owning the company, to the, you know, the salesman, right there. You know, there's, we were at the IRE this year, and I talked to a bunch of salesmen who were like, what can you guys do for us as an agency, on our agency side, our digital marketing agency? And I'm like, we really focus on working with roofing companies, but here are some great examples of salespeople that have built up this great online presence that I was kind of pushing them towards. And you're one of those guys, like, you know, you're a great example of that. So, you know, but, you know, hey, your Instagram handle is mastersroofing.memphis, right? So you are still, you know, Masters Roofing. From as a sales, you know, as a salesman, what would you, you know, say to the salespeople out there that would, you know, about building their social media presence kind of outside of the company, right? Because that's what you've done, because your dad really wasn't, you know, convinced of it or really focusing on it. What would you say to those people?
I think the one thing is you can't be selfish. You know, I understand that I get 64 to 100 clicks to our website each and every month, you know, for people to go view our website and possibly generate leads. I get 0 of those clicks. Like I'm maybe once in a blue moon, I get one that comes from Ashley at the office, you know, that actually go to me. But at the end of the day, it's the best thing for the company. I think a lot of people say, well, there's no way to track it and make sure that it gets back to me because it's me, it's about me, you know. That's a problem. If you sit there and say, hey, listen, I want every single lead that comes into the office, this and that, it's not going to work out. You're going to get discouraged. You're going to be upset at the situation. You have to go out there and put your face out there. And if you're just getting started out, double back with having some great flyers that you're sending out or you're going door to door with, and putting your face on it and saying, hey, this is me. This is who I am. And maybe someone will see on Facebook and say, oh, this is the same guy, I better call him, you know. But at the end of the day, that hinders a lot of people, is the fact that they want it to come all to them. At the end, but that's the thing. There's 2 separate branding opportunities. There's my brand, and then there's a company brand. But I also kind of merge them together at the same time too. I get a lot of people asking me if I own the company or whatever the case is. I'm really just showcasing it. But I think setting yourself up as showing off your personality and who you are as a person, what you like to do in your free time, whatever the case is, I think that's one of the best ways to get people to actually relate to you. And I think a lot of people will buy off of that if they can understand who you are as a person, what you do, if you give back, if you don't give back, or whatever your intentions are. You know, I think if you're a genuinely good person and you're a great sales guy, then you'll get a lot of business off of it. But I think showing people the fact that I'm all about Memphis, you know, and my community, and supporting it in any way I can, whether it's taking, you know, homeowners to Grizzly games, or you know, just going out and eating local and making sure that I'm promoting those businesses. I love this city. So, and that's the thing. Memphis is just one of those cities where if you're all about the sports teams and you're about the community and you're supporting local businesses, they'll do the same thing back, you know. And it comes from when I first moved here 7 years ago. I ate at the same places, the same franchises, and all these different places because I had no clue the amount of great food that was here in Memphis. And I did that for 2.5, 3 years until someone said, hey, have you tried this place? And then I went and I was like, man, that's great. And then, you know, it branched off into me actually researching and finding these places. But that's the thing. If you're about the community, or if you're about a certain niche, and you showcase that and you show people, hey, this is who I am as a person and what I like to do, I think people respond to that very well. So I think having that separate branding from an individual and a company is important, but also showing how those two merge together is very important as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I know a lot of salespeople might struggle with, hey, well, what if I go somewhere else down the road, right?
Yeah.
What if things don't work out here? You
Yep.
know, that trust that you've built up online, you could take with you, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the thing.
that's
As
a
long as you're
valuable
going to
asset,
another
right?
great company, as long as you're going to another great company, that's all that matters.
That's right. Yeah,
I don't ever, let me make it clear, I don't ever plan on leaving my father's company at all. But
that's right.
I,
Yeah, you're in a different you're in a different scenario, right?
yeah,
This is a family business too, right?
yeah,
So it's more unique. You're not just working for a company, right?
yeah.
This is a family business. There's more, more to it there.
But if I decided I wanted to go work for Watkins Construction, I could take my brand and apply it to their system
That's right.
because that's another great company. Now, I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit tougher when you're going out to your own company, like if
Yeah.
I decided to start my own company. But still, that brand goes wherever you go, it goes with you. Now, depending on where you go, that can have a huge effect on what you're doing as a sales guy too, and
Yeah.
the product you're bringing. So make sure wherever you're at, you're always in a comfortable position as a sales guy to go out and sell a roof. You never
Yeah.
want to wonder if they're actually going to deliver on the quality products, because at the end of the day, your word is your word. And if you're selling quality, people are wanting to buy that from you regardless of where you're at.
Definitely. So now from the business owner perspective, you said that your father was very reluctant to push the social media, right? So your father was very reluctant to push the social media marketing. And a lot of business owners are like that. What advice could you give a company owner that they could implement for their company, and maybe with their sales team, individually, that they could put together to help, build everyone up, right? Rise the rising tide, right?
Yeah. One of the best things you can do is say, hey, Jim and Brandon, you're going out today in a pair. I want you to document everything that you do and send it to me, and we're going to put it on social media. I think having a team aspect of hey, listen, you guys are going out together if you're doing roof inspections today. But either way, sending people out in pairs is a great way to start and get people to content. I think that's the one thing that's overlooked. It's so easy to go out and take pictures. It doesn't matter who's taking it. Anyone can take a good picture.
Yes.
I just decided to hire a photographer because none of my coworkers are really interested in doing that,
Yep.
But going out in pairs, especially, I see a lot of companies going out door knocking together, in a group. If you're going to do that, why not document around it? So I think that's an easy way to implement it. And that's another thing on your side, as an agency, as a media agency, you can only produce what they're giving to you.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, you can't sit here and blame an agency why you're not getting these results if you're not producing the content for them to cut up and
distribute,
and distribute it out to the people. So you got to put in the work, whether you have an agency or not. That's the thing. They think that if you pay $5,000 to some agency that they're going to do a bang up job and this and that. No, you still got to produce quality content. And if you're not doing that, it's a waste of time and money, but at the end of the day,
on your team, so for your you have a team now, right? So you have a photographer. What other position
Yeah, I got one photographer.
One photographer, yeah.
But it's just me and him. And
how often does he come out with you?
Probably two to three times a week. So sometimes more.
So that's an idea for a company owner too, right? To hire a photographer to go out with their people one or two times a week. That's it. What kind of, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of budget do you allocate towards photography for that?
I probably pay out $300 a week, $300 to $500 a week.
So it's just a couple hours for the photographer. They pop out with you, take a few shots.
The thing is, even if the company's not paying for it, if you're a sales guy,
that's
you're
right.
not getting enough money off for your jobs. First of all, if you're doing something terribly wrong, if you don't have an extra 300 or 500
$300 a week. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely. So you
make
could
sure
do it as a salesperson. You could do it as a company owner. If your company is not supporting you in your social media marketing efforts, find those resources yourself. They could shoot some video while they're out there. You know,
Yeah.
these DSLR cameras these days are amazing, right? Like, you know, you could shoot video, you could take a bunch of pictures, and they could maybe come out with you for an hour or two a week, right? And you'll have so much content that you'll have a hard time posting it, once or twice a day, right?
That's the thing. There's gimbals out there now that have face tracking on it. Like, what else? You don't even need a photographer.
Don't even need a photographer. Yep, I got one right around here somewhere, right over there. I got one.
Yeah.
It's
There's endless opportunities and there's no excuses. People want to make excuses all day, but really it comes to the fact. A lot of it comes back to the fact that they're so insecure about whatever they're doing that they don't want to put it out, and that's something that you got to get over quick. I don't care if I don't care if, I smile and the gap in my teeth is showing. I don't care. At the end of the day, it's me with my customer doing right by my customer. So I don't care about what anyone says, whether it's a negative comment or people talking behind my back. I don't care, because at the end of the day, only thing that matters are the results, and the results are $1.4 million in sales this year, on my way to 1.5. So
7 months in. Yeah.
7 months in. So at the end of the day, they can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I hope they're saying it while they're looking at my photo.
That's right.
They're looking at my photo. Man, look at this guy. Because at the end of the day, that engagement is why I'm whipping you right now.
That's right.
I look at it. So
that's right, man.
At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of insecurities, and I had a lot of those when I first started out. I would sit there and critique one post for 30 minutes to an hour, whatever the case was. I would just sit there and think, oh, is this going to be the one? Yeah, sometimes it was the one, but sometimes it wasn't either. And you got to get adjusted to those highs and those lows really quickly. But at the end of the day, if you sit there and say, hey, I'm just putting it out, I don't care what happens, that's when you get the really quality results. I mean, there was 1 month, and I think it was right when the pandemic started, where I was getting in front of 3,000 to 4,000 people post every single post. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because everyone was on the phone all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The pandemic and everything that was going on. But it was like, I literally remember saying to my photographer, I said, I don't even think we could post anything we wanted right now, and I think it would do good. If you're not judging it, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And as long as you're getting the results and you're getting the leads, that's the only thing I pay attention to. I don't care how many people click on my profile. Don't care about any of that stuff. It matters how much my phone is ringing. If my phone wasn't ringing, chances are, I'm not saying I would stop social media, but if my phone's not ringing, I got to do something else. I got to go knock doors, or I got to go send out mailers, So that's the thing. You got to adapt and not care about anything other than the results.
And I think that one of the things that you said in the beginning, when you're kind of telling your story a little bit, was that you have to do this for the right reasons, right? You had a why, and your why was to show that roofing contractors are that there are solid contractors out there that homeowners can really trust in. And by you having that why, it wasn't tied to your revenue goals, right? Yeah. And sometimes we have to move beyond that, right? We have to move beyond that mentally to focus more on a something outside of just revenue goals. The revenue comes from the action that you take, right? And a lot of times it's the imperfect action that you take, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm terrible at the analysis by, paralysis by analysis. Like I've struggled with that my whole life. Analysis by paralysis. My wife is like, yeah, let's buy a new toaster. And I'm like, yeah, sure. 3 weeks later, I'm still researching what the best toaster is, right? Like, and sometimes you just have and that was when I started, doing more social media marketing for art, personally, it was like, man, I don't know if that's great. I don't know if that's great. I was like, you know what? I'm posting 8 times a day. Let's go.
That's when you're going to find out what works and what doesn't.
That's right.
That's right. At the end of the day, like, marketing videos are great, whatever the case is, but people want to see the other side. too.
That's
There's
right.
the professional side that's running TV ads or
Yeah.
or whatever the case, but people want to see what happens when those when the material drops
Yeah.
and it's time to go too.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You got to show them every aspect of the company because it's maintaining transparency.
Yeah.
It's going to show them that, hey, listen, yeah, there are things that happen during the roofing process, like tearing off shingles. That's literally like war. You have some homeowners who think it's World War III going on outside when demo day comes and you're tearing off of those shingles. So the more that you can convey that and show people the process, the more comfortable they're going to be. You know, and
managing
that's
their expectations.
Yep. And I literally download the app for my customers. You know, so if they don't have Instagram, I download the app, you know, help them create an account. And I get them started, and first person they follow me because I want them to see what we're doing each and every day.
That's right.
Even if they come from Instagram where I signed them up at, you know, I'm showing them, hey, listen, this is what I post. These are the different shingle colors. There's so many different aspects of my Instagram where people can go and see what kind of company we are. But I have that's another thing that kind of intensifies once that you sign them up and you sign them up for Instagram and everything else. It kind of it sweetens the pot. By the time their roof gets done, they're so happy, and they see you do all these other roofs and the journey it took to get to their roof, that it all ultimately makes the experience better for them.
Yeah, I know. So I've had at Real Dom DePedro on here, and he documents his process really well on Instagram. And when he's sitting down with a homeowner and they ask him, you know, hey, you know, what about your work? He's like, go to our Facebook, go to our Instagram, look there, right? That's essentially his portfolio, right? And they see all of these things and they get to know him even better, and it just builds even more trust. It sounds like you're doing the same thing there. It's just, it's all people buy from who they know, like, and trust, right? And so if you can build that in, you know, that's the most amazing thing you can do with social media. So let's talk a little bit about where do you think the industry, because the roofing industry, I don't think that Instagram has become a very mature marketing channel for the roofing industry, right? Where do you think the industry will go, or, you know, or should go, you know, on platforms like Instagram?
I think especially on Instagram, there's a lot of room for maturity. Like I said, you don't see these brands operating the way that they should on Instagram and getting the attention that they should. There's no reason why a Fortune 500 company or a major shingle company should only have, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 followers. So that shows you the state that we're in currently with Instagram. It's still very, very young. And there's still a lot of opportunities for young companies that are doing the right thing to document and share their story. I think that roofing still has a long way to go before we ever hit that milestone of, okay, hey, listen, we're actually recognized here on Instagram. So I think it's the perfect time for anyone to get started. And I think that it eventually will mature into that. But I thought for sure when I first started, I thought Instagram and the roofing industry on Instagram would be a lot further along than we are right now. Which is fine because I'll continue to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then once that it finally does pop and roofing is actually recognized, then I'll be hopefully one of the major players.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's only time will tell. You know, I think that there definitely needs to be more leadership on Instagram as far as people putting their personality out there, not being afraid of people, you know, saying whatever they need to say. You know, I think we need more individuals on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for the roofing industry saying, hey, listen, we're a good quality company. We do A, B, and C, and this is our story. That's the thing. You don't have anyone out there doing that right now. And
very few. Yeah, very few.
I'm 27. I just turned 27 the other day. I'm still very young. You got people in our industry that's been doing this for much longer, that have a great repertoire of different things that they accomplished.
Oh yeah.
Why aren't they on Instagram? You know, there's a huge platform, and the community is so tight. There's so many people that reach out on a day-to-day basis that I talk to that are other roofers, and there's the support's there. The problem is there's not enough content makers and there's not enough individual willing to invest their time and take the risk of building an actual platform.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, let's have everybody follow you on Instagram, mastersroofing.memphis. Andrew Itnyre, this has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.